Welcome back to Son of a Preacher Man. Soapman is in the house. In the episode before last, I started talking about the biblical figure Nimrod. The Bible describes him as a mighty hunter before the Lord. We start asking all the pertinent questions to find out if Nimrod was an actual historical figure or just a myth. Genesis chapter 10 verses 6 through 14, and I'm going right down to the middle. It says, "And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Calneh in the land on Shinar." So the Bible answers our who question. Nimrod was a mighty hunter before the Lord, which probably most likely means he was a ruler of some sort. The Bible also answers our where question. It says in the beginning of his kingdom, and it names various places. One of them is Erech. Another pronunciation of Erech is Uruk. And you see that here in my slide. I got my arrow hovering over it right now. It says, and Akkad. Akkad was a land north of Sumer. It says in the land of Shinar, and Shinar is another name for Sumer. Before it was called Sumer, it was called Shinar. And then it was called Shumer. And then it was subsequently called Sumer. People have looked for Nimrod for a long time and could not find him. Spoiler alert, he's been found. I'm going to tell you who he was in this episode. But when you try to research a figure that you cannot find by name, another way to find them is by an event that happened during their lifespan. Maybe a battle that they were in, or perhaps someone that they were married to. Find someone that they were associated with, meaning find someone or something that they were associated with, and you find the person you're looking for. Sometimes. In almost every depiction of Nimrod, you will see a tower looming in the background. This is because Nimrod is associated with the Tower of Babel, another biblical story. As the story goes, Nimrod built this tower, or had this tower constructed, in defiance to God. It was his way of thumbing his nose up at God for sending the flood to wipe out mankind. Nimrod, according to the interpretation, the Bible does not say this. Understand, the Bible does not associate Nimrod with the Tower of Babel directly. But based upon the story, people associate Nimrod with the Tower of Babel indirectly. So Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 through 4 reads, "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech." And you see I have that in big bold red print because that is one to remember. This solitary sentence is going to be key in helping us find Nimrod. So please, I have this in big bold red print for a reason. Just try to remember this. It says the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Okay, so then it says, "And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar," or aka Sumer. "And they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower." Remember, it says a city and a tower. Genesis chapter 11 verses 5 through 9 reads, "And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Okay, so check this out. The tower is at the crux of the story. It's because the tower is never completed because God interrupts them. He confuses them and scatters them abroad, leaving the tower incomplete. So this is an important clue, because we're not just looking for this time period where everyone spoke the same language. We're looking for an incomplete tower during that time period. Okay, so we're looking for all of these components in a specific place in a specific time period. The place is ancient Mesopotamia. And the problem with looking for a ruler who built a tower in ancient Mesopotamia is that it's full of rulers who built towers. Now, Gilgamesh was one of the earlier rulers in ancient Mesopotamia. He was not just after the flood, though. You know, he was a little bit after the flood. There had been several rulers. There were several rulers preceding Gilgamesh post-flood. So he wasn't a ruler that ruled right after the flood. Also, he wasn't associated in any way with the building of a tower. He wasn't associated in any way with a time period where everyone spoke one language and then were suddenly confused. So Gilgamesh is probably not who we're looking for. Then there's Sargon, Sargon the Great. Sargon has the reputation of having the first empire in history, and he legitimately ruled the Fertile Crescent. The problem with Sargon, though he is associated with building a complete tower, he is not a post-flood ruler. He did not rule in and around a flood, a great flood of any kind. He is associated with building a tower, but it's a complete tower. He completes his tower. So that doesn't match, and he's not in the right time period. But he was a great ruler. He could definitely be described as a mighty hunter before the Lord. Many people associate Sargon the Great with Nimrod. Many people, I wouldn't say a majority, but a good portion of people and historians and lay people alike flat out think Sargon the Great is the biblical Nimrod. You know, another good contestant or prospect would be Naram Sin. He was one of the rulers in ancient Sumer. And, you know, he built himself up to like God-like status. He even, you know, encouraged people to worship him as a god. He carried himself as a god or a half god. He talked about himself in his writings as a god. And I'm not sure, but he very may well have been associated with the building of a tower. But he was not a post-flood ruler. He was not a ruler that ruled immediately after the flood. And he was in no way, shape, or form associated with the time period where everyone spoke the same language and suddenly did not. So Naram Sin is out. So like I said before, ancient Mesopotamia is littered with rulers and towers. And we're looking for a ruler associated with a tower just after a flood that we don't know when it occurred. So it's almost like looking for a needle in a haystack, which leads us to our final subheading: when exactly did Nimrod occur? We know it was post-flood, but when is that? When is flood? If we don't know when it flooded, if we don't know when Noah's flood occurred, then we don't know when post-flood is, obvious. But the Sumerians did. And the Sumerians kept excellent records of their rulers, the lengths of their reign, and though vaguely, when they reigned. I want you to listen to me very carefully, because it's really just as simple as I'm about to make it. The Sumerian people give a list of their kings or rulers. We call it the Sumerian king list. They give a list of their rulers starting from the very first one. And the first 10 of their kings rule before a great flood. Now, if that don't beat all, do you think that's just a coincidence? Do you also think that it's a coincidence that these first 10 rulers exactly match Adam and his first 9 descendants? So including Adam, 10. I talked about this in a previous episode. It's titled Adam equals Alulim, where I flat out prove that these kings on the Sumerian king list are the line of the biblical Adam and his descendants. The Sumerians don't tell you everything about these first 10 rulers, but it gives you a lot of little tidbits and nuggets and clues. It gives you the length of their reigns and the place from which they reign. The Sumerians even go so far as to list their rulers post-flood. Right after the flood, they list from the first ruler after the flood on down. And I want you to see this first ruler. His name is Meshki-Angasher. Meshki-Angasher. That is hard to say. Meshki-Angasher. According to the Sumerian king list, he is the son of Utu. Okay, so we have this first ruler, Meshki-Angasher. It says of Iana. I'm going to tell you right now, that's Eridu. And it says Meshki-Angasher entered the sea and disappeared. So we have the first ruler after the flood, first ruler post-flood. According to the Sumerian king list, he enters the sea and disappeared. The second king on the list is Enmerkar. It says the son of Meshki-Angasher, the king of Unug, who built Unug. And Unug, next to Unug, it has Uruk. So Unug is another name for Uruk. Okay, so if you remember, Uruk was one of the places where the Bible associated or connected Nimrod. It says, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech. Erech is another form of the word Uruk. Today, that place is called Iraq. Okay, so folks, we have a ruler, this second ruler, Enmerkar, who rules just after the flood, and he's associated with one of the cities that the Bible associates Nimrod with. And so we have a likely candidate with Enmerkar. He is a top prospect. Nothing left to do but investigate and see if we're right, and it's really just that simple. So when we just do a quick Google search of Enmerkar, it says Enmerkar ruled the legendary city-state of Uruk. According to the Sumerians, mind you, Enmerkar built Uruk. While the specific dates are debated, his rule falls within the Uruk period of 4100 to 2900 BCE. Now I'm going to tell you folks, that 4100 number is perfect for me because I have the flood at around 4300 BCE. According to the Armstrong Institute of Biblical Archaeology, it says the biblical Nimrod came on the scene just 3 generations after the extremely long living antediluvian patriarchs, many of which lived to 900 years. Similarly, Enmerkar ruled 3 generations after the king's list 900-year rulers. Okay, so what this is saying is that even to the experts and the historians, Enmerkar seems to match Nimrod time-wise. It goes on to say, it has been put forward that the Kar in the name Enmerkar could mean hunter. If this is the case, then we would have the name Enmer, the hunter, as paralleling Nimrod, the mighty hunter. Let me read this last bit to you. It says Nimrod's father is Cush. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that's a uh-oh moment. It says Nimrod's father is Cush, his grandfather Ham, and his great-grandfather Noah. So they just give you a little quick genealogy on Nimrod. It says, according to the Sumerian kings list, Enmerkar's father is a ruler called Meshki-Angasher. This could have been the same Cush with the matching Cash in his name. The father for Meshki-Angasher is the deity Utu, who was the god of the sun, later known as Shamash. Perhaps even here there is a link with Cush's father Ham. Ham in Hebrew meaning simply hot. Okay, so folks, I got a confession to make. I've been withholding secrets from you. So the biblical record links Nimrod to Cush, and the historical experts agree. But folks, what that means may disturb you, because what that means is that Nimrod was black. Nimrod, this mighty hunter of the Lord, was a black man. He is what we force to describe on YouTube as a ninja. Nimrod was a ninja. And if we're equating Enmerkar with Nimrod, then what that means is Enmerkar was a ninja. Enmerkar was a black man. Folks, by all accounts, this is what the evidence is pointing to. This is what the Bible says. When you say somebody is a descendant of Cush, well, everybody knows black people came from Cush. Specifically, black people came from Cush. So if you have a descendant from Cush, well, of course, that's going to lead most people to believe he was black. I know for some people that's a hard pill to swallow. I truly sympathize with you. I understand. I know how that can make some people uncomfortable. You know, a lot of times people ask, well, all the black people in the Bible, why don't the Bible have any black people in it? Well, folks, wadata. As Pootie Tang would say, wadata. There you have it. Here you are. Here you go. We all know basically where the descendants of Noah's 3 sons settled. Japheth basically settled in the north, Shem settled in the middle, and Ham went south. Everybody knows this and agrees with this. The Bible suggests this, and all of the historical evidence on the ground seems to support it. The problem is, if Ham's descendants went south, when I say south, I mean into Africa. So look at my screen here. The thing that confuses so many people is that if Ham's descendants went south, then why do you have a ruler that is a descendant of Ham ruling over here in southern Mesopotamia? That's what confuses so many people. If Ham's descendants went south into Africa, then why is one of his descendants ruling southern Mesopotamia? And Soapman is going to explain it to you. According to the Bible, Noah's Ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, or within the Mount Ararat range. And I have where that is on a larger map on this slide on your screen for you to visualize. So Noah's Ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, okay? If you look at where that is in relation to where they end up, follow my arrow here. You see it, it's big on the screen, it's gonna get small. Look at the red triangle. Now follow my black arrow down. They're going to end up in southern Mesopotamia. So the answer to the riddle of why is a descendant of Cush ruling in southern Mesopotamia, the answer is simple. They had to get there. They had to get there, bro. Dude, these things don't happen in a vacuum. And they don't happen with the wave of a with the wave of one of Harry Potter's magic wands. The answer to why a ruler in southern Mesopotamia is a descendant of Cush is because they had to get there. Wherever they ended up, they had to get there. These descendants of Noah's 3 sons were together before they were apart. Japheth went north, over in and around and the Black Sea and between the Caspian Sea. Japheth went north. Shem and Ham, whose descendants maintain a relationship even to this day, and I won't get into it. But the descendants of Shem and Ham migrated south, and before Ham's descendants split off, they ruled. Here, let me prove it to you. According to the Sumerian king list, listen to what it says. In Eanna, which is Eridu, Meshki and Gasher, and the reason they're saying Meshki and Gasher is Cush is because anytime historians or experts hear the name Kash or Kush, they associate it with Cush. Let me say this again. Anytime experts hear that Cash sound, they associate it with the biblical Cush. The name Cush is real. Let me just take a moment. Let me just take 30 seconds to say, the name Cush is not just a biblical name. There are people in Ethiopia or in the area of Ethiopia to this very day who call themselves Cushites. There is a lot of times where the Bible correlates with history, and this is one of them. The Bible talks about a people called Cush or Cushites, and history also does the same. And there are people in Africa today who, to this very day, right now, present day, call themselves Cushites. According to the Sumerian king list, it says in Eanna, which is Eridu, Meshki and Gasher, listen to this very closely. Meshki and Gasher, who we think is Cush, the son of Utu, and it has in parentheses the sun god. So this Meshki and Gasher, who we think is Cush, according to the Sumerians, Cush is the son of a god named Utu. Folks, this is so important. It says, in Eanna, Meshki and Gasher, the son of Utu, who is a sun god, reigned as En, which is priest, and Lugal, which is king. So Meshki and Gasher is ruling, is basically what it's saying. 324 years. Then it says, Meshki and Gasher entered the sea, ascended the mountains. Enmerkar, the son of Meshki and Gasher, the king of Uruk or Erech, who had built Erech, reigned 420 years. Here's why what I just read is so important. First, let me explain what I just read. According to the Sumerians, Meshki and Gasher seems to be Cush by all sense that is common. And it's saying that this Meshki and Gasher is the son of the sun god. Now, we all know Cush is the son of Ham. Why is Soapman making a big deal about this? It's because this proves that these people worshiped their ancestors as gods. Cush is the son of Ham. Ham is this sun god that they're calling Utu. The Bible gives you the names of these people, but they don't tell you what's going on. The Bible doesn't tell you what's going on the ground. But the Sumerians do, and they're telling you they called Ham Utu, and he was a sun god. Now, why would Ham be a sun god? Why not a moon god or earth god or star god or a water god? Well, because Ham's name means to be hot. Ham is being associated with darker skin, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's associated with the sun, and black people have always been associated with the sun. According to the Sumerians, Cush is the first ruler after the flood. And the Sumerians say he enters the sea and leaves his son Nimrod, or Enmerkar, and leaves his son Enmerkar, or aka Nimrod, in charge as the new ruler. After the flood, the sons of Noah and their descendants migrated down to southern Mesopotamia. They went back to the place they knew as home before the flood. And according to the Sumerians, Cush ruled. And it says that Cush went into the sea and left his son Enmerkar, or Nimrod, in charge. Now, what could the Sumerians possibly mean by Cush went into the sea? And why would Cush go into the sea? Well, folks, the only large body of water that could possibly be referred to as a sea is the Persian Gulf. And the reason Cush would enter into the Persian Gulf, or as the Sumerians called it, the sea, is to get to Africa. I want you to look at this slide. Look down here in the bottom right corner. It says the Gulf of Aden. And if you look at this larger map of Africa, right off the coast of Ethiopia is the Gulf of Aden. Folks, that is because the Gulf of Aden contains currents that will take you right from one place to the next very easily, and it's probably much easier than crossing the many deserts that you would have to cross by going on land. Or why would Cush or Meshki Gasher enter into the sea? To get to Africa and to get there in the quickest, safest way. It's the smartest route to go. All of the evidence is pointing at Nimrod being Enmerkar, and all evidence also points to Enmerkar, aka Nimrod, being black. Folks, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Son of a Preacher Man. If you enjoy this type of content, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any compliments, comments, or insults, please leave it in the comment section. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss or questions you'd like me to answer, please leave it in the comment section. I'll see you next time. Same soap time, same soap channel. Soapman out.